I'm going to read a selection of poems of Dorothy Porter's, and I'm going to start with a poem that people would recognize as typical Dorothy. It's called Style, and it's from The Monkey's Mask. It's one of her best known poems. In love, I've got no style. My heart is decked out in bright pink tracksuit pants. It weaves its huge bummed way through the tables to Diana. She's reading something with very fine print. She doesn't need her glasses to see me. And I'm going to follow with probably the most anthologized poem of hers, an earlier poem, Exuberance with Bloody Hands. It's from her collection, her 1996 collection, Crete. Exuberance with Bloody Hands. What do the Minoans teach us? Exuberance with bloody hands? The wind the goddess brings is both wonderful and vicious. She flies into your soul, she flies into your face. And what will you do to see her? Become the stone altar? Become the moist fetish? Become the bird screaming down on you? It's just a trance, you tell yourself. You'll wake up tomorrow, your lover sleeping on your shoulder. It was just the wine, it was just the drugs. It's all over. I can't remember. Nothing happened. No one got hurt. But there was something. A wind, a bird, a sense of being taken up and over, dancing and dying, dancing and not dying, dancing and living forever. But your mortal lover snores and snuffles in your mortal skin, the rattle, the trees, that perfume, that fantastic presence. What are you fit for now? Whose throat would you cut to have it happen again? Stain. If you must mark me, make it pretty. Give me a birthmark the colour of an orchid, so inviting my lover will sniff it like a blissed bee. Embroider my wrist with a tattoo so my talking hand can trail in the air a glimpse of the exquisite. If you must keep me in this skin, if you will never let me out, don't make me live inside stained walls. Make them pretty. And two love poems from Crete. My at last lover. Your face sleeps illuminated in the early morning warmth of my slack arm. You're my at last sound asleep child. You're my cat with a sleeping paw flexing in my hand. You're my raw storm gorgeously spent. And what am I, darling? Exhausted and full of trapped bubbles like honeycomb. Drought Sonnet. The parched weave of my shirt soaks up your hand, clothes, toes and throat. Why am I this thirsty? Every night I sniff over the wilting stretch of my own hot skin. Your mouth falls so generously on my mouth of sand. My tongue follows mirage after mirage along the wet of your lips. This poem, Just to Talk, is from Dorothy's first novel, Akhenaten, which was published in 1992. It's in the voice of the pharaoh Akhenaten, and he's talking about his brother, Smenkari. It's called Just to Talk. Evening sky. I breaststroke through its pink warm air. It eddies under the soft cotton of my pink white kilt. But my breath cuts like a rock red face. He's coming, here, in a few minutes, just to talk. To tell me all about his trip to Thebes, the night on the river, the women in the wine shops, the crowds on the dock. He'd have had fun. I'll watch his smooth hands talk about it all in this pale, pink, warm air, and my own hands will lie still and pretend they don't long to touch him. And one of the last poems in Akhenaten, again, it's the voice of Akhenaten, and he's speaking over the body of his dead brother Smenkari, whom he loved. It's called Scarab. Will I stop eating, starve, and find your shadow to snuggle? Will I tell the musicians to shut up, walk through that cobweb of silence and have your voice stick to my face? Smenkari, I can't move. Make decisions for me, or leave me properly, not this tease. Are you really dead? Let me sniff your embalmed hands. Let me open your canopy urns. Give me your still heart. It will be my scarab. You can't separate a heart from its brother. This poem, Faith, is from the Bee Hut, the last collection of Dorothy's. It came out actually just a few months after she died. It's called Faith. I've lived a life illuminated and choked by dreaming. Sometimes everything threads together in a lightning charred tapestry, almost too exciting to contemplate, let alone live with. Other times have left me stranded and sobbing in a muggy black night of longing and plain bloody nonsense. But best of all, dreaming has left a dusting of memory-mushed images. Doesn't matter if they can rear at me like the legs of the frozen dead donkey I saw sticking out stiff in an otherwise serenely barren desert. They burn and smelt this world, this life, into great, messy, plundering sense. One of the best poems about the imagination that I think you'll ever find. Also from the Bee Hut, the Satin Bowerbird. Instead of picking at myself like an old scab, I'm going to build a bower and litter it with bits of blue. You walk towards me down a coals aisle and walk a cute crooked line like a peroxided Chandler drunk. You're wearing blue, and I want to fly off with you like a bowerbird snitching a bright blue plastic peg. Under the ripe white moon looming in broad daylight, flashing all its deep craters, I am pulled like the sea and feel quite washed up until you touch my face with your fine right hand, and I see it glitter like a carved Minoan blue octopus gemstone, and I'm going to sever it if you leave it lying about and fix it with blue tack to my bower wall. I want to keep it. I'm not up to my bower dance, but I have other weapons of seduction. Watch my face. I'll hold my breath until I turn blue. See, didn't I always say I'd die for you? And in fact, it's not from the Bee Hut, it's from Driving Too Fast, an earlier collection. And the last poem, because it does very much reflect Dorothy's humour, it's called The Wattle Bird. And this definitely is in the bee hut. Until this morning, I've been woken up by a red wattle bird, flinging himself at the glass of my half-open window, calling throatily with raucous cheek as he prances the wood of my balcony rail. I'm old enough to be flattered and take no courting attention for granted. This grey morning, I fumble awake, groggily trailing cobwebs of a dream about my long dead, still adored Siamese, clutching her to my frantic dream self as if she were miracle alive. This dry morning of a slippery, rainless winter, I sip my strong coffee and listlessly watch the window, longing for the joyous noise of my new, if just rattling through, boyfriend. Actually, and I'll read one more. Similar tone, actually. Sort of. More uplifting. Foggy windows. You can't preserve love behind foggy windows. Believe me, when your back is finally turned, she steps out, shakes herself down, does her lipstick, and walks away, perhaps with an insouciant swing to the hips that would hurt if you insisted on looking back, if you regretted not shackling her in your car forever. But you don't want to spend the rest of your life blubbering in torn pieces like Orpheus, or tasting a toxic dollop of Lot's wife on congealing cold eggs. So you don't fight it. You don't fight love's right to wind down your precious foggy windows. Thank you. There's a plate of Dorothy Porter.